Good evening. Take a moment and feel where you are right now. If you are pursuing wealth, if you are pursuing happiness, you are fundamentally pursuing a new state of being. But if you keep thinking the same thoughts, making the same choices, demonstrating the same behaviors, and creating the same experiences, you will get the same reality. The only way to create a new reality is to stop being the old one. Most people live in a predictable loop. When you think the same thoughts, those thoughts lead to the same choices. Those choices lead to the same behaviors. The same behaviors create the same experiences, and those same experiences produce the same emotions. Those emotions then drive the original thoughts, and you are officially stuck in a cycle. This is a state of emotional addiction to the past. If you feel guilt, anger, or scarcity every day, you are literally signaling to your body that a past event is happening now. Your body, which doesn't know the difference between an event that is actually happening and an emotion created by a thought, believes it is constantly in a state of crisis. Your mind and body are living in the past. And if your personality creates your personal reality, then the only way to create a new, wealthy, and happy personal reality is to create a new personality. Your thoughts and feelings, when combined, create an electromagnetic signature, a frequency that is constantly being broadcast into the universe. Think of your current state of being as a radio station. If you keep broadcasting the signal of lack or unhappiness, how can the universe possibly deliver a new outcome? It can't. It can only match your current frequency. To achieve true wealth, which is not about material possessions, but about freedom and true happiness, which is a state of internal completeness, you must stop waiting for the external world to change your internal world. Do not wait for success to feel gratitude. Do not wait for the wealth to feel abundant. Do not wait for the relationship to feel whole. The new model of reality is this: you must feel the emotion of your desired future before it physically manifests. You must become the embodiment of that wealthy, happy self now. This is where the work begins. You must get beyond your analytical mind and change the state of your brain and heart. Find a quiet place. Close your eyes. Don't think about your bills, your schedule, or your past failures. Ask yourself, what would the wealthy and happy me feel like? When you sit in that intentional space, practice the emotion of abundance and joy. Generate that feeling so powerfully that you forget you are you and you forget you are sitting in your current environment. This is the moment when you are no longer broadcasting the signal of your past. When you elevate your emotion, when your heart begins to beat with a sense of wholeness and gratitude, you bring the brain and the heart into coherence. This is the highest state of creation. In this moment, you are transmitting a completely new signal, and you begin to draw your new destiny to you. The choice is simple, but the process requires discipline. Stop being your current self to become your future self. Walk out of this room or finish this reading as the person you intend to be. Your future depends on it. The current circumstances you are living in, the state of your bank account, the quality of your relationships, your level of physical health, and your fundamental capacity for joy are not accidents. They are the perfect, measurable outcomes of an inner broadcast. They are the inevitable harvest of your personal reality. The great deception is believing that you are merely a victim of these external conditions. The greater truth is that your reality, in all its detail, is a mirror reflecting the electromagnetic field created by your personality. To chase a new life, a life of profound wealth, robust health, and unshakable happiness, you must fundamentally commit to changing who you are. This is the ultimate starting point. Accepting that the entity you have been up until now is perfectly calibrated to produce the results you are currently experiencing. Consider the ordinary day of the ordinary person. It is not an act of creation. It is an act of repetition. You wake up and immediately your brain begins firing the same circuits. These are the neural pathways that have been worn smooth over decades, representing your identity. These thoughts are not random. They are predictable narratives about your limitations, your past failures, and your sense of lack. Every thought you entertain immediately triggers a cascade of biochemical reactions. These internal chemicals, the hormones and neuropeptides, are released into the bloodstream, and the body registers a familiar feeling. If you think thoughts of scarcity, the body feels scarce. If you think thoughts of limitation, the body feels limited. This thought feeling cycle is a potent feedback loop. This loop dictates your next move. The feeling of lack drives the choice to stay in a comfortable but limiting job. The feeling of frustration drives the choice to lash out or shut down in a difficult conversation. These choices lead to predictable behaviors, behaviors you could perform in your sleep, behaviors that require no conscious effort. These habitual behaviors generate the same familiar experiences, which in turn feed back into the original emotion, reinforcing the very thoughts that started the cycle. This, my friends, is the predictable loop of the self. You are essentially living on autopilot, running a sophisticated yet entirely outdated software program. The danger of this loop is that the body, through this process, begins to condition the mind. The body becomes the mind. You are no longer thinking consciously, you are reacting biochemically. The moment the body becomes emotionally conditioned to a certain state, like anxiety or unworthiness, it literally begins to demand those chemicals for normalcy. This is the emotional addiction to the past. You are unconsciously drawn back into situations, relationships, or thought patterns that trigger the familiar, limited emotional response, not because you enjoy them, but because your body is addicted to the chemical signature of your past self. You feel comfortable in your discomfort, and you mistake that chemical familiarity for who you truly are. But you are not your emotional habits. You are not a bundle of predictable responses. The person who wishes to be wealthy and happy cannot exist within the body that is addicted to the emotions of poverty and dissatisfaction. The old personality, defined by these repetitive thoughts and feelings, is fundamentally incapable of manifesting a new reality. If your personality creates your reality, and your current personality is built from the memory of the past, then your future can only be a slightly altered version of what has already occurred. True change is therefore an act of death, the death of the old self. The moment of transformation is the moment you become a scientist in your own life. You must step back and observe the self. As an observer, you are no longer the program. You are the awareness running the program. When a familiar limiting thought pops up, a thought like, I am not good enough or I will never have enough money, you must catch it. You must acknowledge the familiar feeling it triggers in your stomach or your chest. And in that infinitely small space between the trigger and the conditioned response, you must make a new choice. This is where the divine spark of creation resides. Instead of following the old path, thought leads to feeling, leads to predictable choice, you must interrupt the pattern. You must substitute the old thought with a new intention. And then, most crucially, you must generate the elevated emotion of your desired future before the external world gives you a reason to. This is where the vast majority fail. They wait for the wealth to feel abundant, or they wait for the new relationship to feel whole. This is the old paradigm of cause and effect. The new paradigm, the one that governs true creation, is that you must be the cause. You must generate the elevated emotion, the pure, unconditional feeling of gratitude, joy, and freedom, and sustain it. This practice, this persistent feeling of being wealthy and happy when your current reality suggests otherwise, is the act of installing the new personality. You are firing and wiring new neural networks, and you are chemically instructing your body to accept the new future as its present reality. You are no longer running a program of the past, you are running an intention for the future. You must do this until the feeling becomes so profound, so real, that you forget about your body, your environment, and time itself. When you consistently practice this state of being, you are transmitting a new electromagnetic signal into the quantum field, and the universe, which is only a mirror, must reorganize itself to reflect your new internal state back to you. The disciplined choice to be different is the only prerequisite for becoming rich and happy. because these states are not external prizes to be won, but internal states to be embodied. You stop being the victim of your current reality and become the architect of your own destiny. Every single day is an opportunity to break that predictable loop, to choose a new thought, and to generate a higher feeling. You must commit to falling in love with this new version of yourself, the version that already possesses the joy and freedom you desire. This is not positive thinking. This is neurological and chemical rewiring. This is the work, the ultimate endeavor of the self, and it requires all your presence, all your awareness, and all your passionate intention. To stop being your current self to become your future self is not a one-time event. It is the ultimate lifelong discipline. And once you start to feel the evidence of this new self in your own body, the external world has no choice but to show up and match that inner magnificence. We have established the first great truth, that your reality is a perfect reflection of your personality, creates your personal reality. If you want a new life, you must commit to becoming a new self. But why is this so challenging? Why do we constantly slide back into the old patterns, even when our intentions are pure and our minds are set on abundance and joy? The answer lies in the deep biochemical entanglement between your thoughts and your feelings, specifically your body's addiction to the past. Think about the primary emotions most people default to: frustration, anxiety, fear, judgment, anger, and unworthiness. These are the chemical residues of past experiences. Something happened 5 years ago that created fear, and every time you recall the memory or even a scenario remotely related to it, your brain faithfully recreates the same chemical cocktail. Your nervous system is designed for survival, and it is ruthlessly efficient at ensuring you can replicate the internal environment of a past trauma or stressor. It's a mechanism for survival, but in the modern world, it becomes a cage of limitation. When you think the thought, the brain sends a signal. The body receives this message and releases corresponding chemicals, typically stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. The moment these chemicals flood the body, you feel the emotion scarcity, anger, or guilt. This feeling then instructs the brain, confirming the original thought. The brain, noting this feedback, dedicates more neural circuitry to that emotion, making it easier to fire and faster to trigger next time. This is not just a mental habit, it is a full-fledged chemical addiction. Your body has literally been conditioned to demand those stress hormones to feel normal. If you don't get your daily dose of self-pity or worry, your body sends uncomfortable signals to your brain: a little anxiety, a slight depression, a twitch of frustration demanding the familiar chemical fix. This is the great cycle of suffering. By constantly recycling these familiar, low-frequency emotions, you are perpetually signaling to the body that a past threat is happening in the present moment. Your body is living in a perpetual state of emergency, a state of crisis that depletes your energy and blocks your ability to create. When your energy is devoted to survival, to managing fear and anxiety, there is no energy left for creation. The energy of creation is joy, gratitude, and freedom. You cannot chase abundance with the energy of scarcity. They are two different frequencies. This is why it is critical to move to the third major realization. The new model of creation is internal. You must cease broadcasting the low-frequency signal of the past. The task of breaking this addiction is challenging because the body rebels. The moment you decide to sit down and be present, to choose an elevated emotion instead of the familiar stress, your body will revolt. It will try to lure you back into familiar thought patterns. It will remind you of everything you haven't done, everyone who has wronged you, and every financial problem you face. This is the body's withdrawal mechanism, and it feels like profound discomfort. It's vital to understand that this feeling is not you failing, it's you succeeding at breaking the chemical bond. It is the death throes of the old self. This is why true change is rarely comfortable. The journey to true freedom, to being wealthy and happy, requires you to unhook the brain from the body. It means getting beyond the analytical mind and the emotional demands of your current physical state. The only way to stop the past from running your future is to consciously refuse to emotionally react to the triggers that used to define you. When that familiar, uncomfortable feeling surfaces, you must observe it without judgment. Recognize it as the residual chemical signature of the old program and deliberately choose a higher feeling. You must substitute the habitual emotional response with an elevated state, thereby changing your entire electromagnetic field. By consistently choosing the elevated emotion of your future, you are essentially detoxing your system. You are replacing the demand for cortisol with a desire for oxytocin and serotonin. This effort, this dedication to feeling whole before wholeness is reflected in your external life, is what allows you to move toward achieve heart and brain coherence. That coherence, that elevated, organized internal state is impossible when the body is demanding to live in the fear and lack of yesterday. This entire endeavor is about emotional self-regulation, about moving from a reactive, chemically driven state to a conscious, intentional state of being. You are the only person who can break the cycle. No external wealth, no perfect partner, and no successful outcome can do it for you. Those are the results. The emotional freedom from the past is the cause. This realization brings us closer to the final phase, where we truly become the future self. Now, by embodying the elevated state every single day, the process of unhooking is daily, difficult, and the most rewarding work you will ever undertake. You must endure the discomfort of chemical withdrawal to gain the sovereignty of creation. It is about becoming emotionally disciplined enough to say no to the chemicals of your past. We have navigated the critical initial steps on this journey. You now intimately understand that your personality creates your personal reality, and you recognize the monumental task of attempting to break the emotional addiction to the past. The old self must die for the new one to live. But after the initial period of detoxing from those familiar low-frequency stress chemicals, after you've managed to interrupt the predictable loop, a fundamental question arises. By what mechanism do we draw our new, wealthy, and happy future to us? If we are no longer defined by the past, what defines the future? The answer lies in understanding the true nature of reality, not the Newtonian. Matter causes matter world, most of us were taught. But the quantum, energetic reality where all possibilities exist simultaneously as probability fields. In this quantum field, what you are sending out energetically is all that the universe can possibly return to you. And what you are sending out is not your hopeful words or your intellectual wishes. It is the electromagnetic signature created by the union of your coherent thought, the electrical charge, and your elevated feeling, the magnetic charge. This is where the vast majority of people get stuck. They are waiting. They are waiting for the job promotion to feel successful. They are waiting for the large sum of money to feel abundant. They are waiting for the perfect partner to feel whole. This is the old external model of cause and effect. My reality must change first, and then I will allow myself to feel joy. This model makes you a victim of your environment. It ensures that your external world is constantly controlling your internal state. And as we have already established, if your internal state is controlled by the current conditions of your life, you are only broadcasting the signal of your current life, thereby guaranteeing more of the same. The scarcity you feel is the magnetic frequency you broadcast, which then draws more evidence of scarcity. The illness you feel is the frequency you broadcast, which reinforces the current physical state. The great liberation, the great shift in power, is realizing that the new model of creation is internal. You must reverse the formula. You must become the cause. You must generate the elevated emotional state, the unconditional feeling of joy, freedom, gratitude, and abundance before the external event occurs. You must decide that you are going to feel wealthy and whole and thankful simply because you have the intention for it, not because the external world has given you a reason to feel it yet. This is the moment you move from living in effect to living in cause. When you successfully substitute the familiar, low frequency emotions of fear and lack with the high frequency emotions of wholeness and gratitude, you are essentially pulling the future toward you. Why? Because the emotion of gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. When you are truly, deeply grateful, you cannot simultaneously be in a state of lack. When you are grateful, you are broadcasting the signal that the event has already happened. You are living as if the future is your present reality. Your body begins to chemically accept the neurological reality that you are, in fact, wealthy and healthy and happy. This act is not merely positive thinking, it is neurological and genetic reprogramming. By consistently feeling the elevated emotion of your future self, you are sending new instructions to your genes, telling them to create new proteins and express a new destiny. You are moving from a state of emergency, a state governed by stress hormones, to a state of growth and repair, governed by life-affirming chemicals. This internal commitment, this decision to no longer rely on external conditions to dictate your emotional state, is the essential bridge that links your intention to the physical world. It requires you to overcome your body's objections, to step beyond the analytical mind that constantly tries to evaluate your current reality and pull you back into the past. It demands that you sit, close your eyes, and feel the pure, unadulterated emotion of being free and abundant until that feeling is so intense, so real, that you forget about your body, your environment, and time itself. This is the point of true creation, where the distinction between your internal world and the external world begins to collapse. This powerful, sustained emotional state is what naturally moves you toward the next step to achieve heart and brain coherence. That coherence, that harmonious alignment of the mind and heart, is the most potent transmitter of energy in the known universe, and it is the only state in which you can genuinely and powerfully become the future self. Now, you must embody the frequency of your desire until the external world becomes a match for it. This new internal model is the secret to transcending the old, predictable self. We have established the foundational truths of creation. You recognize that your personality creates your personal reality, and that your first act of sovereignty is to break the emotional addiction to the past. You have also grasped the revolutionary principle that the new model of creation is internal, demanding that you generate the feeling of your future before the evidence arrives. But how do we turn that fleeting intention, that wish for wealth and happiness, into an undeniable, measurable force? The answer lies in the physiological and energetic synchronization of your most powerful organs. The primary mechanism for transforming intention into destiny is the concept of achieve heart and brain coherence. This is not some abstract spiritual concept. It is a measurable, scientific state of organization within your own body that dramatically amplifies your energetic broadcast into the quantum field. Think of your body as a sophisticated radio tower. If your thoughts, the electrical charge, and your emotions, the magnetic charge, are incoherent, if your brain is stressed and firing chaotically while your heart is pumping residual fear, you are sending out a weak, garbled, and contradictory signal. Chaos creates nothing but noise. Consider the human heart. It is the most powerful generator of magnetic energy, the body producing an electromagnetic field that extends several feet outside the physical structure of your frame. When the heart is pumping erratically, driven by the stress hormones of the frustration, the guilt, the fear, it is sending an incoherent message. The heart rhythm becomes jagged and disorganized, reflecting the chaos of a life lived in survival. Simultaneously, when your mind is analyzing, judging, and worrying about current conditions, the brain is in a high-frequency chaotic state, often operating in a rapid beta wave pattern. This disorganized brain and disorganized heart are sending a signal of disorder into the field, and thus your reality reflects that internal chaos. You cannot create profound wealth and unshakable happiness from a place of biological fragmentation. The work of coherence begins with the heart. To transition your life from chaos to creation, you must intentionally regulate your emotional state. This is done through a sustained focus on elevating your emotion. You must begin to feel gratitude not for something you have, but for the life you are about to receive. You must feel whole, abundant, and free. As you sustain these elevated emotions, you begin to signal to the heart to beat in an organized, rhythmic, wave-like pattern. This state of emotional elevation literally changes the geometry of the heart's electromagnetic field, making it smoother, stronger, and more powerful. The heart shifts from a chaotic mess to a powerful, organized transmitter. As the heart becomes coherent, it sends a powerful rhythmic signal up to the brain. This is the magnetic frequency of your future. The brain, now receiving this organized signal, begins to slow down its wave patterns, shifting from the rapid, stress-filled beta state into the deeper, more creative states of alpha or theta. This is what it means to get beyond the analytical mind. The analytical mind is the gatekeeper between your conscious thoughts and your subconscious programs. By moving the brain into a coherent state, the analytical mind quiets and the brain and heart synchronize. The electrical energy, the thought, and the magnetic energy, the feeling, align perfectly. When you achieve true heart and brain coherence, you are broadcasting the clearest, most organized signal possible into the quantum field. You are combining a clear, focused intention, the image of your wealthy and happy future, with a powerful, elevated magnetic emotion that draws that intention to you. This is the sweet spot of creation. This is the moment when you are no longer sending the signal of your old self, but the powerful, unified frequency of the self you intend to become. This is the true application of the new model of creation is internal. You are creating a biological state that is higher than your environment. The external world, your bills, your demanding job, your lack cannot penetrate this high-frequency, organized internal state. You become impervious to the chaos outside because the order within is so profound. This practice, sustained over time, is the only way to successfully execute the final, to consciously become the future self. Now, the coherent state is the vehicle that transports you from the limited identity of your past to the unlimited potential of your future. It requires dedication, daily practice, and the unwavering commitment to feel the joy of the outcome before the outcome itself appears. This synchronization of heart and mind is the key to unlocking the true power of your personal electromagnetic field and drawing in a reality that matches your elevated inner order. We have meticulously built the foundation for true and lasting transformation. You have recognized that your personality creates your personal reality, and that the journey begins by accepting the need for a total internal overhaul. You have committed to the vital discipline required to break the emotional addiction to the past, releasing the low-frequency chemicals that tether you to lack and fear. You understand the power of reversing the formula, embracing the reality that the new model of creation is internal and that you must feel the future before you see it. And finally, you know the mechanical step, how to achieve heart and brain coherence, turning yourself into an organized, high-powered broadcast tower of destiny. Now, we arrive at the culmination. This is the integration phase, the point where philosophy becomes practice, become the future self. Now is the daily lived mandate that transforms a fleeting wish into an embodied reality. The problem with most motivational journeys is that people try to do their way into a new reality. They chase external actions, they make aggressive calls, they work longer hours, they study harder, all while still being the person who feels fear, scarcity, and unworthiness. But remember, the energy of scarcity only draws more scarcity. The true work is not about doing, it's about being. It's about taking the energetic, coherent state you practiced in meditation and integrating it so flawlessly into your waking moments that the external world begins to bend to meet your new internal order. The question you must ask yourself, moment by moment, is not, what do I need to do to get wealthy and happy? But rather, who do I need to be to attract wealth and happiness? The future self, the one who is financially free, overflowing with joy, and deeply fulfilled, already exists in the quantum field as a potential. Your job is to collapse that potentiality into physical reality. And the only way to do that is to make the feeling of that future self so familiar that your body and mind accept it as the present truth. Every morning is a divine opportunity to audition for your future. Before you engage with the familiar people, places, and things of your current life, before you check your phone, before you read the news, before you face the financial pressures, you must spend time being the person you intend to become. You must practice thinking like them. What thoughts would the wealthy, coherent self entertain? Certainly not thoughts of lack or petty jealousy. They would think thoughts of opportunity, possibility, and gratitude. You must practice feeling like them. The emotion of abundance is not anxious striving. It is quiet, unshakable confidence, a profound sense of already having everything you need. You must hold this elevated state, this sense of internal completion for as long as you possibly can. This process is hard precisely because the body is still addicted to the past. The moment you walk out of your intentional space and are confronted by your current bank balance or stressful interaction, the old self, the old program, will try to resurface. The brain will try to revert to chaotic beta waves. The heart will try to pump stress chemicals. This is the test. This is where you apply the emotional regulation from previous. When the familiar discomfort arises, you must consciously stop, observe the feeling without judgment, and remind yourself, that is the past. I choose the future. And you immediately re-engage the feeling of your future self. When you consistently choose the thought and feeling of the future self over the thought and feeling of the past self, you are literally changing your identity. Every intentional choice sends a new message to your brain, creating new neural pathways. Every sustained, elevated feeling sends a new message to your genes, signaling health and growth instead of survival and stress. You are creating a biological match for your desire. You are moving from the limited known to the unlimited unknown. This discipline means not reacting to your environment. If someone cuts you off in traffic, the old self would react with anger and stress, plunging you back into the chemicals of the past. The future self, the wealthy and happy self, remains unperturbed, recognizing that no external event is worth sacrificing the precious internal state of coherence. Your wealth is not your money. Your wealth is your internal freedom, the freedom to choose your state of being regardless of the circumstances. By maintaining your cohered state, the achieve heart and brain coherence you work so hard to establish, you become a magnetic force, drawing the necessary people, resources, and synchronicities to your life. The reality you desire must manifest because it has no choice but to reflect the powerful, undeniable frequency you are now embodying. This is the ultimate lesson. The person you are becoming is already the one who has everything you desire. The core message of this teaching is simple but profound. Your external reality is not created by chance, but is a perfect reflection of your internal state of being. To achieve genuine wealth and unshakable happiness, you must commit to an internal revolution, a process of neurological, chemical, and energetic restructuring. The vast majority of people are trapped in a predictable loop. This loop is governed by the first two. Your personality creates your personal reality and the need to break the emotional addiction to the past. Your current personality, defined by your habitual thoughts, choices, and behaviors, is perfectly matched to your current results, your personal reality. This loop is maintained by a powerful chemical addiction. Every time you think a familiar limiting thought like fear, anger, or scarcity, your body releases corresponding stress chemicals. Your body becomes chemically conditioned to these low-frequency emotions, demanding them to feel normal. This means your body is constantly signaling to the universe that a past traumatic or stressful event is happening now, effectively locking your mind and body in the past. The first act of creation is recognizing this addiction and enduring the chemical withdrawal, the discomfort that arises when you consciously choose to feel joy and gratitude instead of fear and lack. You must choose to interrupt the thought-feeling cycle, thereby causing the old self to die so the new self can live. Once you begin to break the addiction to the past, you must apply. The new model of creation is internal. You are transmitting an electromagnetic signature into the quantum field, which contains all possible realities. If you wait for the wealth to feel abundant, or for the success to feel worthy, you are living in the old model of effect, remaining a victim of your environment. The new model demands you reverse this formula. You must generate the elevated emotion of your desired future before the external event occurs. Gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership because it broadcasts a signal that the event has already happened. To maximize this internal broadcast, you must achieve heart and brain coherence. The heart, the most powerful magnetic generator in the body, must be brought into an organized, rhythmic pattern by sustaining elevated emotion. This coherent heart then sends a powerful signal to the brain, shifting it from chaotic, analytical beta waves into deeper, more creative states, alpha, theta. This synchronization of coherent thought, electrical charge, and elevated feeling, magnetic, creates the clearest, strongest signal possible to draw your new destiny from the quantum field. The final step is translating this internal breakthrough into a continuous, lived reality through the daily mandate, become the future self. Now, this is not about doing more. It is about being different. Every morning, you must consciously audition for your future self. Ask yourself, how would the wealthy and happy me think, feel, and act? You must embody that elevated state until it feels so familiar that your body accepts it as the present truth. The ultimate discipline is non-reaction. When confronted with environmental triggers, a stressful bill, an unkind person, traffic, the old self tries to reclaim control through anger or stress. The future self, the sovereign self, remains unperturbed, recognizing that no external chaos is worth sacrificing the precious internal state of coherence. Your wealth is not your money. Your wealth is your internal freedom, the freedom to choose your state of being regardless of the circumstances. By maintaining this coherent state, you become an unstoppable magnetic force, ensuring the external world has no choice but to reflect the powerful, undeniable frequency you are now embodying.